100% ready to go green here at Boston Speedway for round number 7 of the 2023 FBRL Hardee's National Series season. Bradley Bishop Jr. in his return to series is on pole position alongside the surprise Griffin Lapo McDermott. Green flag in the air here at Boston. Bradley Bishop Jr. clears for the lead through turns 1 and 2, but Jeff James from the second row already looking for the lead from Bishop Jr. Jeff James coming off a win at Iowa, looking to go back-to-back here at Boston. Bishop leads the first lap, but he's got Jeff James on his tail. If the tail was on his chest, but here comes Jeff James on the bottom here. Bishop towards the top lane, trying to see if he can get the run off of 4, but Jeff James in the 4 car, he is looking really strong off the corner exits here. Side by side for the lead between the two veterans here. One a Cub veteran, one a Hardee's veteran. And James slides up in front of the 11 of Bishop Jr. to take the lead. So Jeff James, continuing the momentum from Iowa, takes the lead here at Boston. Is now going to try and see if he can pull away from the 11. Here's Richard Johnson in the 10 car. Owned RJ Bishop in the back of the field here. Richard Johnson, he made a bit of a blunder in qualifying as he, during his qualifying lap, got loose and slid up the track, which cost him several tenths and knocked him to basically almost a dead last starting position. So he's got his work cut out for him here. He's going to have a very long road ahead of him here to try and climb through this field, which wouldn't be the first time Richard's had to do that this season. But you have to imagine that this 10 team is quite tired of probably being in these types of holes. And you can tell he's not exactly having the easiest time. He's having to pick these guys off one by one, and this track is, to a certain point, multi-groove, so Richard's got his work cut out for him. Down for 4th here, Griffin Lapo McDermott. He starts 2nd place. He's fallen to 4th and trying to prevent himself from falling to 5th as he battles with the 40 of James Silverfox, driving number 40 for Texas Motorsports on a part-time schedule starting this week. This was a bit of a quickly put together effort for the 40 car. And he's got his work cut out for him with Griffin. He is fighting really hard against Silverfox there, but Silverfox in the 40. He's going to clear Griffin to take the 4th place position. Texas Motorsports, who got their best finish last season of 5th at this very racetrack, trying to see if they can replicate and perhaps improve upon that success. Ryan Reed, the driver who got that top 5 last season, currently running in 9th, trying to hold off Cody Lummis and Stuart Gratton. Here's Dewey Schramm in the 27 for Spark Sport, as Spark Sport managed to qualify for their first race since Daytona this weekend, with Dewey Schramm the 3rd at the helm of the team, and trying to get some laps on this car. Last time they had Shade Eves driving the car at Daytona, did a pretty good job, but intermediates are a bit of a different beast here, and Schramm, who did some good for Easy Racing's 08 team last season, which struggled, but he has done a good job throughout the FBRL series this year, despite his struggles last year, so he's hoping to carry the same success here tonight. "16 laps in, Richard Johnson is slowly but surely picking up spots here, as he's going to go 3 wide with Hart and Lassard for the spot here for 24th. And ooh, this is tight here. Hard trying to shake off the 84 of Lessard, but Lessard goes all the way up towards the wall to defend. And this is where this track shines. That outside lane is really good for defending and setting up passes. And Lessard showcased that by holding up Hart there, going all the way up towards the wall. We've seen some very surprising runs to begin the year from some unknown faces, and probably the most notable to a certain point has been Dylan Poteet, who is coming off 2 straight 9th place finishes here, driving for Red Bull Racing, and is currently running in the top 5. Now, we're still a long ways to go here, but Poteet has been pretty quick all weekend long, and you have to imagine Red Bull Racing is really thrilled about this, as they've been, so far tonight, they're the highest running Honda. And it's after how the season started, it definitely does feel like this team has turned things around. They got into the top 30 in owners points this past week. Now they're hoping to try and continue to build that momentum. And he's been basically outmatching his teammate Daniel Bouchard since the start of the season. Behind them, as we are on lap number 20 here, Griffin Lapham McDermott battling with Nick Breeding, who is trying to get through this top 5. But they are not making it easy for him here. This 62 team, Single Z Racing, they've been a bit of a free fall the past couple of weeks. They had a really strong top 5 at Dubai, but they've been kind of struggling for pace ever since. But this weekend, they looked really solid. And Griffin had some really strong runs on the intermediates last year, driving for SG Motorsports, but hasn't been able to really show that so far up until tonight. And he is, giving Breeding fits as he tries to shut the door on the 9. That's the defending series champion. Then GLM is basically fighting for 7th here. And you got to give it to Griffin, as I don't think Breeding's happy with the 62, as he really dove into the corner. Really hard racing between these two, and I think Nick Breeding is starting to get a little frustrated with Griffin, because I think he can sense that those Curtis Racing cars up at the top 2, they're starting to pull away, and he can see them going further and further away the more he stays behind this 62. But Griffin just keeps battling him, and he's holding him off for now. Meanwhile, up here the battle for 4th, Poteet and Vargas have caught the 40 of Silver Fox here, and they are racing almost 3 wide for the spot. There is a very mixed bag of experience in this 3-car fight here. Poteet and Vargas basically barely make up even a fraction of the amount of races that James Silverfox has raced in throughout the years, but they are taking the fight to him. Meanwhile, back at the front, the Curtis Racing duo of Jeff James and Corey Williams, they are pulling away from the 11 of Bradley Bishop Jr. here, as Corey is trying to see if he can get underneath the 4 of Jeff James. These two have won the last 2 races, with Jeff James winning at Iowa and Corey Williams winning at Kentucky. And Curtis Racing has been basically the best team overall to start the year. And they're looking like they've got their setups and dialed in really good for this weekend here. They just look like a really unstoppable team at the moment there. Not for a lack of trying, though, by Bradley Bishop Jr., though, in the 11. Here is Adam Verlanis in the 72 car, the newly full-time ride of the 72 car for Single Z Racing, which is going to be driven by Verlanis for the rest of the year. This was a bit of a last-minute deal put together here. And it's very interesting here. Single Z Racing last year was a single-car team. They made the move to 2 cars. It's turned out to be a rousing success, and they're deciding to expand their resources even further. Will extend their resources even further by adding this 3rd car. There was rumors originally that this was going to be a part-time car, but I think they decided that after Verlanis had a spectacular run in his Hardee's debut back at Kentucky. They wanted to give him a full ride for the year to get him as much experience as possible for perhaps a title effort next year if Kentucky was any indication. But he's having a bit of a fight with Bouchard, and Bouchard is literally having to check up to not slam the back of him. I think Verlaine is realizing that a single Z car may be slightly different than a Spartan car. He's going to have, I think, his work cut out for him a bit more than I think with the ride he first started with. So we're coming up on what would be the first of 2 stops needed for tonight. Here's Stuart Grand in 12th, right behind the former series champion Kev Shear. Grattan's been doing a pretty solid job tonight, and this 16 team has really struggled on ovals to start the year. They were just having a fit at Homestead. They struggled at Kentucky. Iowa, they were nowhere, but tonight they seem to have got things figured out a bit more. Now you have to remember, Grattan basically has no oval experience up until this season. So he's basically learning from scratch here every single week, but he seems to be getting better here as he's confidently running with Shear here, literally running into the back of him. Got, I think, the tires off the ground for a moment there. That was close, and I think Grattan realized he is maybe overdoing it a little bit. I could have sworn I just saw the rear tires flick up as if the 16 was basically lifting him up through the corner, and surprisingly that didn't result in a wreck. It is a bit of a melee in the mid-pack right now. As you can see, this string of cars, they are all stuck together here. Here's Richard Johnson, who is from, I believe, 38th, has now climbed up to 19th and is now looking for 18th from Doug Lockrow. So Richard making up some spots here, slowly working his way through. But he's got some very strong cars around him here. Here's Kyle Collins, who is probably feeling a little bit left out of the Curtis Racing parade up at the top too, as he is struggling to get inside the top 20. Around number 41 car. I think Collins is looking for some right-hand turns. Ryan Reed, who had a really strong qualifying effort, he is, sadly, his car does not seem to be very good in the long run here, as Reed was in the top 10 to start the race, but as the run has gone on, he's just been dropping back and back, and I wonder if this 24 team was expecting maybe a wreck or two already, but so far it has been relatively clean. We've had some close calls, but so far, no cautions. Pit stops have begun, and Jeff James will be the first one to bite. He will pit from the lead to prevent someone undercutting him here. And he's looking pretty lonely here, so this is a bit of a... This could be a bit of a risk here on the long run here, but Jeff James is, I mean, if you think about it, he kind of won Iowa because he pitted first, so I think they're just going with their playbook that's been working out for them so far. Corey Williams, Bradley Bishop Jr., Stuart Fox, they're coming in next. Dylan Poteet's going to stay out an extra lap here, along with a couple of other guys. So Poteet will lead a lap here. Not on pace, but hey, it still looks good for the record books. Red Bull Racing hasn't led a lot of laps this season. I'm sure they'll take whatever they can get at this point. Poteet, he's signaling he's coming to pit road, so he's going to bring in I believe the rest of the field. Doug Lockrow, he's pitting, but that was very dangerous to try and go in from that angle there. And we got one guy staying out. RJ Bishop's going to go an extra lap here, so he's going to lead this lap. RJ really going to stretch this out. He's practically going to run out of gas at any second here because the fuel window is projected to be 45 laps at the maximum. Bishop comes to pit road. He'll be the last person, one of the last people to come to pit road, along with Dunn Pratt and Luis Hernandez. So here's the end of the pit cycle here. Jeff James, as you saw, he has kept the lead, and he's in front of Corey Williams in the 14. And that choice to pit first has put Jeff James in an interesting situation. He is now in the middle of lap traffic. He had a very clean racetrack in front of him, but that 14 must have worked some magic on pit road because they have... he's now going to be having to pass people. And look at how deep he cut into everybody. He's up to 30th right now. That's Verlaine in the 72 who's 30th. And Jeff James is going to put him a lap down, so that is a heck of a sequence by the 4 team. And they're going to put some lap traffic in between him and Corey, so that may have been a really good call by the 4 team to get him some space. But the problem is that he's going to have the oldest tires in the field, and that's going to make racing with those lap cars very difficult here. Oh, RJ Bishop with a problem in the 71 car for Turner Performance Racing. Bishop is on pit road. He's getting something looked at here. I think something may be wrong with the engine or the ignition or something, because they're tending to the car here at the halfway point, and he's already fallen 3 laps down. That's a tough break for RJ, who's been on a bit of a hot streak the past couple of races. And this is going to put that momentum to a grinding halt. Christian Vargas in the 51. He is up to 4th place after a very good pit stop there. And he's brought Cody Lamas with him here. They managed to overtake James Sorfox on the pit cycle there. Sorfox was ahead of both those two entering pit road and came out behind them. So, not a very good pit stop from the Texan Motorsports crew. So that just costed their highest running car a potential top 5 run here. And look at this, Ryan Butcher, who has quietly made his way up to 7th place here. Butcher's had a bit of a rough couple of weeks. Had that unfortunate wreck in the final laps at Kentucky, which cost him a potential top 5 finish, and then unfortunately struggled at Iowa. But he's been looking pretty good so far tonight, but it's not been the start to the year that this A team has wanted. They're barely above the top 30 in Norris points right now, and I think that's a bit of a surprise to a lot of people, especially a lot of people were predicting Butcher to be a title contender. Now, the season is still young. There's still plenty of time. But with how strong those Curtis Racing cars, it definitely is clear that you really need to get a strong run out of the gate there, and Butcher is basically playing catch-up here, and he's probably going to be playing catch-up for the rest of the season. But this is a good start here tonight. So he's battling with Sorfox for the 6th place position here. This is a really good battle between these two. Butcher trying to shake off the 40. But Sorfox, who is trying to will this Texan Motorsports car into a good finish tonight. His teammates for tonight, LaPrade and Reed, have fallen outside the top 30, so he's trying to get a miracle run out of this car right now. They've both fallen a lap down. Jeff James so far has led almost every lap so far tonight. And he's currently holding a 1.1 second lead over Corey Williams in the 14, but that gap is slowly going down a little bit here because that 14 of Williams is catching him here. But both these two have something in common. They're both being hounded by lap traffic. In Jeff James's case, the cars around him pitted after he did, so they've got fresher tires than him. You can see James has not really been able to really lap anybody ever since he got past Verlaine. It's kind of got him stuck here. Meanwhile, Corey Williams, who pitted later, he's trying to hold off Dunn LaPrade, who was one of the last cars to come to pit road. LaPrade's got roughly about 3 to 4 lap fresher tires than Jeff James. So LaPrade's got some pace here as he's trying to get his lap back and hope for a well-timed caution. But you have to mention both the Curse cars are both irritated with lap traffic in 2 different ways there. Bradley Bishop Jr., meanwhile, is in his own bit of hell. He's trying to get through several cars just to get to the Curtis guys. And how about the gap from 3rd to 4th? Almost 10 seconds of a difference here to Cody Lamas, who just got past Vargas for 4th. But look at who's charging right now. That's Ryan Butcher in the 8. He is currently the fastest car on the racetrack right now in this 8 car. So Butcher has found some pace here. And he's hauling it. He got past Vargas with relative ease. And with how tough it's been to pass people tonight, that's a pretty impressive feat here. Now he's trying to get up to Cody Lamas, who is his teammate for tonight. Lamas running one of his limited part-time starts for the 94 for Shea Bignacco Racing. Trying to get that team a good finish here. Trying to get some kind of morale boost for Lamas because his Sony Cup season has not gone the way he's wanted it to. So a good finish here could potentially maybe change things mentally for him here. But he's got his work cut out for him with Ryan Butcher. And Butcher's a very, very hungry driver. Out for 14th, Richard Johnson, trying to get underneath the 62 of GLM. And Richard, his slow ascent through the field is starting to pay off here as he's starting to approach the top 10, excuse me, as he gets past the 62 for 14th. Oh, we got some trouble for the lead here. Jeff James is stuck on top of James Ellison and Dunn the Prad. These two are running some quick laps there because they've got some fresher tires, as they are both trying to get their laps back here. Ellison and LaPrade get their laps back, but here comes Corey Williams with a massive run as Jeff James got real tight off of 4. First lead change on a pace since lap number 4 or 5. And it's Corey Williams who takes the lead away from his teammate Jeff James. With 30 laps to go here, coming to 29. And coming up on the final stop of the night. I wonder if Jeff James may be regretting that pit early strategy has cost him the lead. But maybe he will do it again. They're going to pit with roughly about 15 to 20 laps to go. So it'll be interesting to see what decision they make here. You have to imagine that if the 14 pits, the 4 will follow, and if the 4 pits, the 14 will follow immediately. So how will this play out between these two? But right now I think Jeff James is more worried about these lap cars who are now all over him. And he's starting to lose touch with his teammate. Tell you what team that's been really having a tough night tonight, that has got to be the Allen Family Racing Team. Tyler Commons and Justin Henley running in 36th and 39th. I'm not sure what's going on with these two tonight because Commons and Henley both have top 10s on intermediate, so I think a lot of people were expecting maybe a chance for them to fight for a top 10 tonight, but they've just been completely off. Commons in the middle of the battle with Blaze McKinney, making his first start of the season with Freeze Racing Team. And he's been basically stuck with Bouchard and Joshua Michaels for most of tonight. Battle here between Lane Sanders and Stuart Gratton, as Sanders, who is trying to get inside the top 10, currently battling with Gratton for the 13th place spot here. You can see a lot of the top 10 are pretty close together here. A lot of these guys who are trying to get in the top 10 as well. I mean, it's very competitive here. This is basically 5th on back, all stuck together here under a blanket. As Breeding, he's coming down low. I think he's coming to pit road here. So Collins, Breeding to pit road, Lamas to pit road, as the final cycle of the night begins. A lot of guys coming to pit road here. Corey Williams, he's going to stay out an extra lap here, as does Jeff James, as does Bradley Bishop Jr., who has now all of a sudden come up to 2nd place with Jeff James. Where did he come from? Bradley Bishop Jr. was a couple seconds behind these two, but he has caught them. I tell you what, that 11 car, he may have the best long run car in the field because he's hauling it. But look at this though. How about this? Everyone's pitting. Everyone's pitting except the leaders right now. Everyone's trying to undercut. I think a lot of these guys who pitted, they're trying to get their laps back, or they're trying to undercut to make sure they don't get lapped because of what happened the last time. Corey Williams and Jeff James basically put 12 people a lap down on one pit cycle. And I think they learned from that the first time there. Here comes Corey and Bradley shooting around. Oh, Jeff James now comes to pit road. Jeff James surrenders third to come to pit road. And these are some of the last guys to come pit, so... And with just under 20 laps to go, I can't imagine what this field's going to look like. Look at this. I cannot believe they're doing this. Look at Corey Williams and Bradley Jr. They're running this very long. And I'm surprised that they're doing this because Jeff James is getting fresh tires right now. I think these two want to make sure they've got the freshest tires in the field to end this race here. But here comes Corey. He's going to come to pit road. He will surrender the lead. Bradley Bishop Jr., however, he's going to stay out even longer. This is a very interesting call here from Bradley Bishop Jr. here, but I feel like it's maybe a bit unnecessary with just 16 laps to go. And he's slowing up some guys here as here comes Bishop. He's coming to pit road for the final time tonight. He's the last person to come pit besides RJ Bishop, who's on track, but he's off the cycle. Jeff James with 4 fresh tires here with 15 laps to go here in Boston. He's still getting his tires warmed up here as Joshua Michaels is battling him. But look at this. Corey Williams, you just saw in the corner of your screen. He's just came off of his stall, and Jeff James is way out ahead. Oh, and James Surfox, he's falling a lap down somehow. But meanwhile, look at the gap here from first to second. Jeff James, he basically, in a weird way, did the same thing he did at Iowa, where he stayed out. Well, he pitted earlier than the rest of the leaders here. But granted, he kind of pitted late compared to most of the field, but I think in his mind, he was more worried about the 14 and 11 and knew he needed to get track position with those guys. What is the gap going to be here? Jeff James is your leader, but how far behind is Corey Williams? 3.7 seconds behind with 14 laps to go. Oh, this is going to be very interesting here. Jeff James, he got caught towards the end of that run when he pitted early. But he had a much smaller gap than this beforehand. And look at the gap, it's gone bigger, 3.9. 3.9 seconds to make up with 13 laps to go. That is going to be very difficult here. And with all the lap traffic in between, this may have been the most genius call so far tonight by this 4 team, because this may have just got them the victory here if they can just get through these final couple of laps. Look at this. Kyle Collins is 4th. Where the heck did he come from? Kyle Collins was just outside the top 10 when the pit cycle started here. And that was a very weird pit cycle because usually you expect the leaders to come pit first, but no. Everyone basically undercut each other and it shuffled the field. I mean, look, Kyle Collins is 4th. Butcher is roughly where he was. And then you go further back here. Kev Shear's a bit further up in the top 10. Samuel England has now reached the top 10. Richard Johnson has reached the top 10. Downey was running around 20th. He's up to 11th. And probably one of the biggest losers on pit road was Christian Vargas. He was running in the top 5 when the pit cycle started. He's down to 15th. I wonder if they just had a slow stop, or perhaps they just stayed out too long, because that costed Vargas a lot there. Elson's down below the apron there, and oh boy, Well, we almost had a caution there. We're here with 7 laps to go. So here's what happened here. We saw Ellison below the apron where he washed up the track here, but what caused this? Ooh, Sanders. Oh, Sanders, he just throws the car into the corner, hits the back of the 22 of Cal Farrell, which knocks the 93 down below the apron there and almost causes a massive melee in turn 1. And I think Sanders may have got a little bit over... a little overconfident there, because that almost just results in a big wreck, and that cost him some spots. Let's go back to the pit cycle here. James Sorfox was in the top 10 when the pit cycle started here, but he is now lapped down. So what happens here? Sorfox is in his stall. Oh, you can see. Oh, something went wrong on the right rear. They couldn't get the tire put on correctly. Then they come over to the left side. A little bit smoother there, but look at the time lost. They were slow getting the left sides on too, and we're clocking this in. According to our data, this was a 22-second pit stop for James Sorfox and the 40 team, which is the slowest stop of the night, and that was the worst time for that to happen. And Texas Motorsports, who was looking at a potential top 10 finish today, it is gone. We're being told something happened with AJ Jones on pit roads as well. We've noticed he's a couple laps down now, and oh, AJ Jones came into his stall as Blaze McKinney was coming out. And that absolutely destroyed the left side of the 81, and they had to repair it before sending him back out on the racetrack. So AJ Jones with a very unlucky break gets heavily damaged here. And oh, the same thing happens to Tim Fiegel in the 87. He came out and got hit by somebody as well. So 2 of the Spa cars with a very similar incident on pit road. And that's going to cost them multiple laps. Let's watch Fiegel here. I didn't quite catch who he hit. Oh, that was Sebastian Kukulon. Oh, Kukulon came out. Fiegel was late to turn in. And man, Tim Fiegel was running in the top 22. And Spa, that was very disastrous. With Nick Pericles struggling as well. This is definitely not a good night for them. I mean, it's not been a good night for the Blue Oval. Ford has just not caught a break tonight. Five laps to go here in Boston. And Jeff James, for the second week in a row, him and his team have pulled off the perfect strategy call here. And they're going to be en route to their second straight win. However, Jeff James is, he's going to play nice, but he's definitely trying to he's trying to be careful with these lap cars here. Corey Williams, he is sort of making gains, but it's not going to be enough to catch him. Back in third place, Cody Lamas. He pitted relatively early, and he's gone up to third place. Bradley Bishop Jr., who was the last car to pit, he gave up time to try and get tires here, but unfortunately, it may cost him a spot on the podium here. And check out this top 6. This top 6 is basically 5 SkyTech cars. That SkyTech alliance that has been so strong here in the Hardee Series the past couple of years. And it seems that despite the massive overhauls and the changes they've gone through over the past couple of months, it has not deterred them from being as dominant as they were last season and the years prior. But coming to the white flag, Jeff James in the 4. For Curtis Racing, he was the man tonight. And once he crosses the checker flag, it will be 79 laps led tonight. Coming through the final corners through turns 3 and 4. Jeff James will win his second Hardee's National Series race and his second race in a row for Curtis Racing here at Boston. A dominating performance here as Curtis Racing finishes 1-2. Bradley Bishop Jr. crosses the line third. He managed to just get Coey Lamas there at the last second, it looks like. Bradley Bishop Jr., unfortunately, his stay-out strategy did not work, but he comes across third in his return to the Hardee's National Series season. Corey Williams finished second after competing with Jeff James through most of tonight. Coey Lamas finishes fourth, a much-needed performance from him. He's one of the best finishes for Shea Binyaka Racing this year. Ryan Butcher comes across the line fifth for his best finish of the year himself, as Shea Binyaka Racing gets 2 cars in the top 5 and 3 in the top 10. Kyle Collins finishes 6th in the 41 car, his best overall performance in quite some time. Kev Shear crosses the line in 7th for a quiet 7th place finish. Samuel England was pretty quiet tonight as well, but he comes across 8th. And Nick Breeding, unfortunately, was never able to get into the top 5 despite his hard-fought battles. He finishes 9th, similar to his car number. And Richard Johnson, from the very back of the field, from 38th, he climbs to 10th. A solid drive to the field from Johnson, but you gotta feel that they left a lot of spots on the table with their qualifying efforts.